Sheesh. My hair really looks like a fade today. Awesome. So, someone asked Jacob if Matthew is really all is written to the house of Israel, and it is all about that house of Israel, why does the Gospel of Matthew, why is it the one that has all of the accounts with the Gentiles? You know, the account of the Roman centurion is in there. The account of the Cyrenian woman is in there. Those are in chapter 8 and in chapter 13, I think. Well, and that's exactly it. It has a lot of the disagreements between Christ and the Sadducees and scribes. It has a lot of the interactions with Gentiles. It also has the condemnation of the Jewish cities. In chapter 11, Chorazin, Capernaum, the other one, where he says, you know, where Christ goes through and the people don't believe, and he says, like, if the same things were done here, or if the same things that were done here were done in Babylon, were done in Nineveh, were done in wherever else, they would have long ago repented in sackcloth and ashes. And so Christ is pointing out, this is exactly what Matthew's doing. Matthew is saying that Christ is going out to the Jews. When he goes to the Roman centurion's like, look, I know I'm unclean, and you don't need to come into my house. And Jesus doesn't go into his house. And to the Syrian woman, remember, that's the experience. I've talked about it in another video elsewhere, where Jesus basically calls her a dog. And if you think that dogs are good things, you are not a Jew in the first century, or kind of any century before the modern era. Dogs are a very unclean animal. They are compared in Matthew and in other places in the New Testament to swine, and you know how Jews feel about swine. Which reminds me also that this is in the Matthew is where we get the story of the devils being cast into swine, and the people who are Jews who are not following the law, asking Christ to leave because he is wrecking their livelihood by taking away their unclean animals from them. So it's really all about how Christ fulfills the law. Now, with the Roman centurion or the Syrian woman, the law of Moses is to be superseded if there's a chance to save a life. This is why in the Israeli Defense Forces today, you still have the army working on the Sabbath. You still have the fire and the rescue and the hospitals working on the Sabbath, because it's more important to save lives than to keep the lesser parts of the law. And so that's what Matthew's showing here, is that there are these things about the law, about doing good to your fellow men, about that's where the other, I guess I can't hold it that way, about taking care of other people, that when Christ is ministering to those who aren't in the house of Israel, first thing he does is he points out that, like, his mission is to the house of Israel. Second, he points out that these other people who aren't Israelites are showing more faith than the Israelites are. So it's a bit of a condemnation for the Israelites that they're not doing what they should be doing. So Matthew is using these examples to point out to his contemporary listeners that they need to be having faith in the Son of God, like these others who didn't have the fullness of the gospel, in their opinion, did. It also is in chapter 12 of Matthew is where we see the part about Christ's disciples going through the fields and eating the grain as they walk through, ripping the chaff off and just eating it. And Christ makes the comparison to David being the son of, or being the Lord, and how he broke the laws too, and about how there's sometimes things which are more important than the law. Now, that doesn't mean that he's throwing out the law, but again, Matthew is addressing those specific criticisms of Christianity in his day, and is pointing out to the Jews that Christianity, at least the way Matthew sees it, is still fully in line with the law of Moses. We have the feeding of 5,000 and 4,000. I could talk about that for a lot too, but I think the one other thing I want to say is to remember that symbolism is symbolism. Some people rest the scriptures because in Matthew we also have two different parables about leaven, and in one the leaven is a good thing, and the other the leaven is the bad thing. The point is that in specific parables the leaven holds a specific thing. They're supposed to be aware of the leaven of the Pharisees, but they're also supposed to remember that the kingdom of God is like leaven, which is put into 3 measures of meal, and it's mixed around to everything. It's leavened. It's not that leaven is always a bad thing. I mean, and this is, I think, also a comparison that Matthew is making to the gospel and to the house of Israel, is in Judaism, yes, leaven is a bad thing during Passover, right? The rest of the year, leaven is fine. You can have leavened bread all you want. Challah is a very important part of the Sabbath meal today, and it's leavened bread. But there are times when that thing can be bad. And so you got to look at the symbolism in the context of what it has. So that gets us up to Matthew chapter 15, I think. And we'll get over the rest later. Thanks, bye.